So you don't consider your own interests as more important than interest in others. Just as a mother would be interested in the happiness or the unhappiness of the child. So in the same way, a person begins to become interested in the welfare of others. In that same way, thinking that others' happiness or unhappiness is as important as one's own. When that is done, when there is no distinction between oneself and others, you don't think in terms of I and you. You begin to think in terms of we. When we think in terms of we instead of I and you, that distinction between oneself and others disappears. And when that disappears, all selfishness disappears. And when there is no selfishness anymore, then there will be peace and happiness in the world. All unhappiness is due to self-centered thinking, selfishness. And all the selfishness comes from our emotions. All emotions are self-centered. So the mind is free of emotions when you come to this level. And you are always happy. You don't become unhappy. Because all unhappiness is self-centered. So you become happy, and that happiness of selflessness is what is called mudita. Mudita is that happiness of selflessness. And when you begin to experience this happiness, you don't go after happiness outside. You don't go searching for happiness in external things. You don't search for gain or prominence in society or being praised or going after sensual pleasures, pleasing the senses. That is not seen as happiness. These are just pleasures. Derived through selfish wishing or emotions. When you get something, you begin to feel happy. That is a self-centered happiness. But here, when you become selfless, you enjoy happiness far superior to that. And when you are concerned about this happiness, which is an inward happiness, your mind becomes calm and tranquil. That calmness and tranquility is the happiness. And that calmness does not get disturbed. Whatever happens in the external world your mind is not disturbed. Because you don't depend on external things for your happiness. And this is the evolution of the mind of the human being. And that becomes the end of all unhappiness and suffering. Even death is not something seen as a bad thing. You are not frightened of death. So that is the ultimate meaning of life. Life is really a mistake. A mistake means even modern scientists like Charles Darwin, who began to talk about evolution, one important thing that he noticed was what is called the struggle for existence. All animals, all plants, all living things are struggling to exist. That struggle to exist is a futile struggle. Because everything that is born has to die. You cannot keep on existing. And that existence is not a real existence. Now the biologists have found that what we call existence is not a real existence. Why? Even our bodies are made of small particles called cells. And these cells are things that break down and new cells are being formed. So everything in the body is breaking down and new cells are being formed. It is like a river where water is coming from one side and going out from the other side. So every time you find new water, this is why a philosopher said, you cannot enter the same river twice. Because it is always new water. So in the same way, we can say that you cannot meet the same person twice. Because that person has changed. The changing of the body is fairly slow, but the changing of the mind is very quick. The child that is born is not the young man or woman who gets married. Different person, really. And the old man or woman who dies is not the young man or woman who got married. It's all changing. So you see, what we call existence is not a real existence. Nothing is really existing. There is only a struggle to exist, but there is no real existence. So that struggle is a futile struggle. This is what the Buddha